Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel. Today, I'm super excited to do my tournament recap and run of the San Antonio Regional Championships, where I finished 78th place with my Goldango Palkia deck. And I'm super excited to talk about the list itself, why I played this specific build of Goldango, and certain inclusions that I had in the deck. I'm really excited to talk about all that in today's video. And yeah, I finished 70th place, bubbled out of top 64, unfortunately, which is like a difference in CP. The pricing was the same. I still got a Surging Sparks booster box, which is a pretty good prize. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty good. But yeah, I bubbled out of top 64. Would have been cool to get top 64. But 70th place, I'm fine with it. It's decent enough. I went 9-3-1 on the weekend. And yeah, I want to give a big thank you to everybody who came up to me this weekend and asked for a picture, for me to sign something. It was really awesome to see that. Love interacting with people. Love meeting subscribers and stuff. I think this probably might be the most amount of people that I've had come up to me in a single weekend at a regional, in all honesty. Like, it feels that way. Like, there were times where, like, literally I was trying to get, go somewhere, but I couldn't because I had so many people coming up to me, which isn't a bad thing. Just not complaining. I'm just saying I thought that was really cool. So big thank you to everybody who came up to me. Love interacting and meeting people. And a lot of people were saying that my videos are what actually got them into playing the game, or, what got them into wanting to go to, like, an actual tournament. So that's awesome to hear. So I want to give a big thank you to everybody for that, and I'm glad to hear that. Very heartwarming stuff, and met a lot of awesome people this weekend. Love San Antonio. It's a great location for a tournament. I really like the Riverwalk. I was there on Friday night, or Saturday night, I should say. Had a really good time in San Antonio. One of my favorite places for a regional. I really liked it last year, too. The food there is also really good, and the vibes are nice, too, and all that stuff. So yeah, this is the Goldango deck I played. I don't know if I'm the highest placing Goldango in day 2. Limitless haven't updated the site yet at the time of recording this, but hopefully I am, because I really do think that Goldango Palkia is actually the best way to play the deck. But also, I do not like Energy Search Pro that much. So I played Goldango to Toronto regionals last year, which is why I didn't post my Toronto recap video, because I did bad in the tournament. I went 4-4-1. I started off 2-0, and then I hit a control deck, which is a really bad matchup, especially for the Togekiss build. Did bad there. And then, like, I got bodied in the mirror by the coin flip, RNG on Togekiss. And then also I bricked in game 3 versus a Charizard deck on my last game that I had to stay in the tournament. And after that, I went X3, and then I kind of just checked out of the tournament and was just, like, not really playing very well. And then I just went 4-4-1 overall, which, was fine. Like, whatever. I was fine with the deck I played. I really like Goldango. I thought it was okay for Toronto, but there was a lot of thorns pulled there, and control, I hit that. Like, it wasn't the tournament for the deck, apparently. My original build that I played at Toronto was Goldango, Togekiss, with a 1-1 Bibarel. I still really believe in the Bibarel. Also, I'm kind of the Bibarel stan here on the YouTube channel. It's, like, one of my main personality traits on my main channel. But I really think Bibarel is, like, broken in Goldango. I think it's really good to have, and I'll talk about why I played it here in a minute. But yeah, going into San Antonio, I honestly didn't know what I wanted to play. I was back and forth between Archaladon, Charizard, and Goldango. Those were the 3 decks that I wanted to play. Also, Thorns Pulled. I tested a bit of Thorns Pulled leading up to the tournament. I brought it to a league challenge like a week or 2 ago. And then after the league challenge, I bombed it. I was like, nah, Thorns Pulled sucks. This deck, I didn't like it. It just felt really bad. It wasn't even beating Drago, which is, supposed to beat. I don't know. I just didn't like the deck at all. So I scrapped Thorns Pulled really quickly. And I went back to, like, the drawing board, and I was like, all right, maybe we just play Goldango. And I was hanging out with my buddy one night, and I was just kind of brainstorming ideas in my head. And I was like, you know what? Goldango Palkia with Prime Catcher honestly might be kind of broken. So I tested the deck a bit, and I really liked it. Prime Catcher, in my opinion, is still very good in the deck. Yes, you're not playing the Energy Search Pro, so you don't get that immediate, like, big knockout that you usually can get with a Goldango. Honestly, though, with the way this deck plays, it's not even that big of a deal. In fact, this deck has a lot of draw on the deck to make up for the lack of Energy Search Pro. Also, we have to play a heavier count of cards that can find us energy in the first place. So I was like, yeah, one, I think Goldango Palkia is better than Togekiss, because one, you don't lose games up to random coin flip chance. Also, Palkia gives you extra, it makes your deck stronger because it gives you more firepower. It also gives your deck more options in a match. Palkia was very good this weekend. Also, so is Greninja, which you can use as an attacker in the deck, which is why the Palkia package is so good. I wasn't a fan of the Energy Search Pro Palkia deck. I played a bit of that, and it was really clunky because you only play 3 water, and I found that finding Palkia Greninja plays were, like, a little difficult to do. Like, I know you can eventually use Palkia mid to late game, which I actually ended up doing more often than not, but I just didn't like the Energy Search Pro build. I thought Prime Catcher was still absolutely disgusting in the deck, because I tested the deck, and I was like, yeah, Prime Catcher is still really good. Like, it gives you a free switch, gives you a free gust on an item. It's a very powerful card in the deck. Really good against specific situations where you need to go like Prime Cologne on Ninja, or you need to like take the first 2 prizes, or you need to get around like a Cleffa or like a Radiant Charizard. This is a very powerful card, and I mean, it's the best card in the deck by far. So then you're like, okay, why are you playing the Bibarel in the deck? Well, the Bibarel is really good because it's basically a 1-prize Serendipity. It makes your deck really Iono-proof. One of the issues I have with the deck is that Gholdengo has the ability to make this like really good board state where you never have to worry about like a liability being on the board, because sometimes your board can be very clunky for your opponent. Like your opponent hits, can't hit these awkward numbers that Gholdengo has, and they're just kind of in this weird spot where they 2-shot you. Sometimes you just put a Serendipity in play, or even Palkia for that matter. They just knock it out super easily, and it can sometimes lose you the game. So I found that Bibarel just means that you don't have to bench Fez as often, because if you're getting Iono spammed, you don't need to have the Fez in play to try to build up your hand. Because without the Bibarel, even with the Fez and stuff, I still found the deck that sometimes games can come down to that key Iono, especially versus decks that abuse Radiant Charizard, where they're main plan is to go like Iono Radzard knockout active. So it's actually really good to have that extra bit of Iono proof draw. Bibarel's really good in the early game too. It kind of makes up for not having the Energy Search Pro in the deck, because you have even more draw in the deck now with the Bibarel to help find you energy quickly. One of the other MVPs of the deck, though, by far, was the Letter of Encouragement. When something gets knocked out, you get 3 energy cards out of your deck. Very broken card. This card allows me to hit those, like, 6 energy plays I need to hit initially, so it kind of made up for not having the Energy Search Pro. The 2 Vessel was a little sketchy. It's actually, I had to cut Irida and Vessel. Those are my 2 other cards I had in the deck before the Bibarel to make room for the Bibarel. The night before, I was talking to my friend Ruben Yella and also Jarek Gamilla. I was talking to them about the list and stuff, and we were going back and forth on the idea of the Bibarel and stuff. And I know Yella, is the one who kind of popularizes like Gholdengo Bibarel Palkia package. And I still thought Bibarel was really good for this tournament. Also, another logic behind it, the reason I wanted to play Gholdengo too is because I expected more Archaludon and Terapagos, which are very good matchups for this deck. Archaludon is very good because you just one-shot their Archaludons. It's a very good matchup. I expected to hit more of that this weekend. Terapagos also did really good in Birmingham, and I expected more people to play that also. So I was like, the Bibarel's really good in those matchups because you don't have to bench Fez as an easy liability. Also against Archaludon, one of the only ways they can actually beat you is if you have Fez and Dipney in play, they can go Dialga V-Star, Star Chronos your Fez, and then they can go Boss Gholdengo for 4 prizes. That's usually how you lose that matchup. And I saw that happen a few times at like tournaments and stuff. I was like, nah, we ain't playing into that way, because that's how Archaludon beats you. So I'm like, Bibarel is really good because you can put Bibarel in play. They Iono you and you have Bibarel on the board. They can Star Chronos your Bibarel, but then they're not taking a 4-prize tournament. It gives you time to stay in the game, because Archaludon cannot one-shot a Gholdengo. You just one-shot the Archaludon, and you're still fine. So I really like the idea of Bibarel for that reason. Yeah, I think it's just really broken in the deck. Also, when you have Bibarel and Fez in play, your board feels like just insane. Also, the 2 Pokestop is good. Want to highlight that. With the lack of Energy Search Pro, the Pokestop helps a lot. Pokestop saved me this weekend. Not only do you need it sometimes to just find turn 1 ball search card, which happened to me more often than not, or more times than I would have liked it to, but it's also a good way to just discard cards from your deck to, discard energy. Sometimes Pokestop can get rid of energy for Star Portal, or put energy in the discard pile if you have a Retrieval in your hand and you want to have a big Gholdengo turn. So that's why the Pokestops are still really good. I thought about playing Jamming Tower. I ended up going with Lost Vacuum. I wanted to play 1 tech card for Gardevoir. I was not trying to take an L to Gardevoir. I think without the Vacuum, the Gardevoir matchup is unfavored. So I really like having the Lost Vacuum to make the Guardian matchup. I didn't hit any Gardevoir this weekend, which is kind of funny. Also hit no Archaludon, so that's awesome. But the Vacuum is still good. It was really good against Raging Bolt specifically. Jamming Tower is definitely something I can see being played in the deck too. I don't hate the idea of that. The downside of Vacuum is that you have to get rid of a card in your hand to use it, which can hurt. Sometimes when you need to keep your hand big for the superior energy retrievals, double retrieval is sometimes hard to pull off when you have to also play a Vacuum to get rid of another card. That's where the Bibarel is nice, though. You can Vacuum and then Bibarel and then build your hand back up for retrieval. So the Bibarel kind of goes in nicely with the Vacuum combo, but I definitely can see Jamming Tower being good. The problem with Jamming Tower, though, is you can sometimes mill it off a Pokestop, which can really suck, and then, you lose the game against Gardevoir. That happens. Everything else about the list is good. Honestly, to be honest, I think the 60 is very solid. I guess I could mention why there's no Irida in the deck. Yeah, that was the one card I cut for the Bibarel was an Irida. I found that the Irida was kind of mediocre. I didn't use it that much. It's only a one of. I'd have to play 2 Iridas in the deck, or 3, to get a lot of value out of it in this deck, because you can use it to find Palkia and Greninja and stuff. Honestly, I didn't really think the Irida was very good. Whenever I had it in my hand in testing, I was like, I don't really need anything with it. It was really good on the first turn of the game going second, but it's the one of. Like, you're not going to find it every single time you need it. So I cut the Irida. I found the Irida to not be very useful. I guess it's good to get, like, Palkia V-Star Prime Catcher. I don't know. I just think that the Irida is very good. A lot of the times when it was in my hand, I was like, I'd rather just have a Cypher Maniac or even an Iono. The Ionos are really good. Goldengo infamously can have really bad starting hands, where you're just kind of slow a little bit. Like you're a bit of a slow starting deck, and then you kind of ramp up towards like the middle to late game is when you kind of just start being really difficult. So the Iono is really good to like give you just a new hand to work with, so you can stay in the game. Also, hand disruptions is really powerful. Also, when you have Bibarel in the deck, because usually you Iono in the late game. Without Bibarel, you draw like 3-4 cards. You're like, well, this hand's small. It sucks. How am I going to take a knockout? When you have a Bibarel in play, you don't really mind playing an Iono because you can just redraw and refill your hand back up. So Iono's still really broken in the deck. It's just a good way to bail your hand out of, having a dead starting hand, which happened to me a lot this weekend, where I needed Iono to bail me out. Like, I had games this weekend where my hand was like one Pokemon. I had an Iono, and that's it. So I had to play the Iono, and it just gave me, like, Poffin so I could stay in the game and stuff. So, yeah, let's talk about my run here. Really like the 60. Honestly, if there was another tournament in this format, I would probably run the 60 back. I think the 60 is that good. But, yeah, the Prime Catcher, like I said, I think it's the best ace spec in the deck. Just allows you to make better plays happen in the deck. So, yeah, here is my tournament run. So, round 1, I hit a Miraidon deck. We ended up tying. Miraidon's a good matchup for Goldengo, especially when you have Bibarel in the deck, because it means that you can have a really small board, which you need to do against this deck, because you can't play into Raikou as a one-shot option, because they have to go Raichu hands to win the game, and you make it really hard for them to do that if you keep your board very small. Sometimes they get unlucky generators. Round 1, Game 1, I won. Game 2, I lost. Game 3, we went to time, and my opponent, I think, had game on turn 3 of time, but they missequenced, and we ended up tying, which is better than losing. Because I was not winning that game if my opponent didn't make that missequence. But yeah, Miraidon's usually a good matchup. I think game 3 I had a bit of a slower setup, which you can't have against Miraidon. Miraidon gets turn 1 hands against you. You have to like answer that immediately, which is where like not having the Energy Search Pro kind of feels bad. Because if we had Energy Search Pro in that situation, it would have been fine. Round 2, hit a Lugia. I think both games are pretty solid. Lugia's kind of scary if they set up turn 2 hand Cinccino. Like, if their turn 2 is amp you very much with a Cinccino on the bench with 2 energy on it, you just scoop it up. Because, like, that, how do you win? In my opinion, that feels unwinnable. The Prime Catcher is really good in this matchup, though, because you can chase the Archeops. You can go after the Cinccino. The Prime Catcher is really good. Also, it allows you to do, like, double coin bonus, which is nice. So, yeah. Both games, I think, were fine. My opponent had some weird draws. I think both games, though, they got turn 2 double Archeops out, but I think what was it? I think there were just turns where, like, they just couldn't KO the Goldengo because they just couldn't get a Cinccino in play, and then I would Turo the Goldengo. Another really good card is the Turo in the deck because it allows you to pick a Pokemon up to make a really good board where you have no liability on the bench that your opponent can't easily boss up. And then also you can heal your Goldengos, and this is really good in the 2-shot war against Lugia, which if they go like Tempest Dive, you just go Turo, Goldengo, knock out Lugia, and it resets all that damage they did. Round 3, hit another Lugia. I think I won game 1. Game 2, they won pretty convincingly. And then I think game 3, I started Ninja Pass. I had nobody Poffin, and they had turn 2 Iron Hand Cinccino on bench before I was even able to get a Goldengo out. And at that point, I just couldn't win, basically. I played it out, but then they got to a board state where Cinccino weirder, and then I had literally no way to win after that. So Lugia, like, if Lugia just draws the nuts, if they set up perfectly and do everything they want to do on their second turn, which, can be hard to do, but Lugia be like that sometimes, especially if you choose to go first against them. You give them an extra, like, read the window work with them going second. The matchup can be very difficult, and that's what happened in game 3 is they set up really hot, and I just couldn't keep up, and I just got basically checkmated. Round 4, hit Clough. Clough's another good matchup for Goldengo, if you don't get donked, obviously. Won game 1. The matchup is 2-2-2 race. That's effectively how I won the game. I just kept going 2-2-2. Prime Catcher was very good in this matchup, by the way, because I was able to switch out a poison and stuff and chase down. Basically, I just went after like the Trobgos that my opponent on the bench and stuff. And then game 2, they chose to go first, and I only started a Gimmighoul, but they prized Pekron, which was really, really good. So I thankfully dodged the donk and was able to win that game too. Also, the deck. Clough doesn't really do everything it wants to do. A lot of the time, if they have to burn their Forest Seal early on and stuff, and Luminion early on, they're not always able to like play Iono and stuff. And if I get Bibarel out, it feels really good because then it's really hard for them to stop me from taking 2 prizes every turn. Palkia also really good in this matchup. You can bench Palkia. You take a knockout Goldango on a 2-prizer, you can then bench your Palkia because you know that you're safe. Because you can Palkia in this matchup because it's such a strong attacker because they always fill their bench up. Round 5, I hit Mirror. Ironically, one of my losses, it was Togekiss Gold, or I think, no, it was Palkia Goldango Energy Search Pro. No Togekiss. So it was a Mirror match, but they had the Energy Search Pro. Both games, they took the first knockout with a Goldango, so my response was I needed to KO them with my Goldango this turn. Unfortunately, both games, I struggled to get 6 energy, because Goldango's 2/6 HP is really annoying. You actually need 7 energy to KO him. You need attachment plus 6 energy. Unfortunately, both times, I was unable to do that, and I couldn't, like, anything I tried to do to stay in the game or try to keep up just wasn't working, so just kind of got steamrolled there. I couldn't get turn 2, I couldn't take the first 2 prizes. Basically, is how both games went. Because I don't play Energy Search Pro, so I was at a disadvantage in that situation. But Goldango's also not a popular deck really to like tech for, like in that regards. But yeah, not having the Energy Search Pro did put me at a disadvantage. Though I came close, like both games, I needed to go for the knockout. I had the most draw. I had Fez, Ninja, Pokestop, Cypher Maniac, Letter of Encouragement, Vessel. Still just couldn't find that 1 energy. Both times I was 1 energy away from taking the knockout. Round 6 at Charizard. It was a Charizard with a Scoop Up Cyclone. I don't know if they had Pidgeot. Game 1, I messed up. They went, I went first. They went second. They went Radzar, Charmander, Pass. I had game with the Greninja, but I accidentally Cyphered before. I was supposed to Ultra Ball before Cypher Maniac and then get a Bibarel, but I messed up and I accidentally Cyphered before the Ultra Ball, which screwed me over. But I still won game 1 because they never had a Pidgeot, so I was just able to go boom, 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 and it got to a point where, like, I played an Iono knockout active, and they whiffed Rare Candy Charizard. They had a Bibarel in play, and that's about it. And they still didn't find Rare Candy Charizard. They were down 3 candies. I will say this. Both times my opponent used Candy in this matchup, or Charizard, they kept finding the Rare Candy Charizard without the Pidgeot in play. I was like, oh my gosh. It's crazy. Like, they had, like, on their second turn, after I whiffed the knockout by accident, they went Rare Candy Charizard and played a switch raw from their hand to move the Radzard out of the active spot, which was in the active spot. And then they attacked, and then I hit them for a bit of damage, and then they scoop up Cyclone to the Charizard, and then had another Rare Candy Zard in their hand. I was like, what? That's crazy, bro. Zard's just always got it like that, I swear to God. But, yeah, we won both games. Goldango is a good match, especially when they don't have Dusknoir or Pidgeot. The matchup's, like, pretty good. Because you can just one-shot Zard, and you have to constantly make them respect it. I do think that when it came down to Radzard, though, I think it was Boss that won me the game, not Prime Catcher, but the extra Gust did help. Round 7, hit Palkia Tropicos. Since we needed to win the next 3 to stay in the tournament, we went to game 3, and shout out to my opponent because we offered to do a gentleman's agreement because we knew time was going to get called, and we did it on, I think it was prizes. I'm not a fan of board state gentlemen's because sometimes the opponent can disagree with you and it gets really sticky. So I think prizes is just a very fair way to go about it, especially when you're just playing these 2 Palkia decks that just go boom, 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 you know, just beat stick attacking stuff, right? So it's easier to do that, in my opinion. And then on board state, which, again, sometimes your opponent can disagree with and you can kind of get an argument over it. But shout out to my opponent. They honored gentleman's agreement. I was able to take a knockout. It was a weird game where we both had really slow starts, but I was able to take 2 prizes, and I think they just had a turn where they did everything they could, and they just couldn't knock out my active to stay ahead in the prize trade to win gentleman's agreement. So that was nice. And they honored gentlemen, so big shout out to my opponent for that. Round 8, hit a Reggie Drago. Both games, I just 2-2-2 them. They never got Cleffa down, and I just went 2-2-2 pretty easily, but lovely opponent. Shout out to my opponents once again. Every one of my opponents this weekend, by the way, was awesome. And then round 9, the winning in, I had another Reggie Drago. This one was very interesting. It was a very interesting set. My opponent did honor gentlemen, so once again, I want to give a big shout out to my opponent, round number 9, for also honoring the gentleman's agreement. Yes, round 9, hit a Drago. So I won game 1, but game 1 was weird. They Kyurem'd me, but I noticed their resources were kind of thin. So they went Kyurem, and then I subspace swelled them. And then I got to a point where, like, my opponent ran out of resources, and they couldn't take the last 2 prizes, which really helped. Because they wasted a lot on the Kyurem play, right? Which was really good for me. And then I won game 1. Game 2, I think I had a slow start, or they just set up and just kind of steamrolled me. Like, they did everything perfectly game 2. I think just win really easily. Game 3, we did gentleman's agreement. Time was called when we started, so... Or it was like... Was it when we started? Either way, it was like, as the game was just starting is when, like, time got called. So I can't remember if it was on my first turn or my opponent's first turn. Because I think I went first game 3 because I lost game 2. So that time might have been called by then. So yeah, we did Gentlemen's on prizes once again. My hand was okay, but I was very close to being able to take the first 2 prizes to maybe win Gentlemen's. My opponent needed to only get 1 Regidrago in play on their first turn. So their first turn, they did everything. They went like Squawk and Seas, Research. They only got 1 Regidrago V down though. So I was like, okay, I just need to draw like a way to find like boss or prime catcher, Cypher Maniac, even an Iono, technically a Pokestop to help me get there, like anything to dig for boss or prime, and I think I win the game. And I concealed cards into my prime catcher, and I prime catcher Palkia'd his lone Regidrago to effectively win on the Gentlemen's there because they had no other Drago in play. They had no way to take 2 or 3 prizes to either tie or win the game. So my opponent thankfully did honor the Gentleman's Agreement. So again, big shout out to my round 7 and 9 opponent for honoring the Gentleman's Agreement there when it came down to it. Just not, people tend to not do that sometimes. I've seen horror stories of that on Twitter, so I want to give a big thank you to those guys specifically for honoring Gentlemen's. Yeah, just because without it, I wouldn't have been in day 2. Then round 10, hit a Raging Bolt. Really nice guy. Fun opponent. Game 1, I was able to formulate an easy turn 2 response KO to. Oh no, I didn't get the initial turn 1 KO. They went Bravery Charm, Raging Bolt, knock out my active Gimme Ghoul. I didn't have enough energy to KO a Bravery Charmed Bolt, but I had Vacuum in my hand, so I was going to save it, because every other card in my hand was really good. I couldn't play the Vacuum, so I had to wait a turn, but I didn't expect them to switch card. I didn't think they'd expect the Vacuum, so what I did was, they took the next knockout on my Goldengo, and then I had a 4-prize turn where I went Prime Catcher, Vacuum, take out both Raging Bolt he had in play. And then game 2, unfortunately, he had to Squawk and Seize all of his energy retrievals away, which was just so diabolical. And I also was able to get the response KO on the Bravery Charmed Raging Bolt when he took the knockout. But he scooped because he just couldn't do enough. Because again, without energy retrieval, he just can't get things going, and he ended up scooping the game. Then round 11, I hit another Regidrago. Pardon me. A very close set, once again, where it came down to the wire. So I won game 1, and then I lost game 2. Game 3 got very close. So the way the board was, my opponent had 1 energy on the Drago, but they were down 3 energy switch. Or they were out of energy switch. It was one of the 2 things. Either way, game 3, they were out of resources, but they had the ability to still win the game with a Radiant Charizard, which I knew they had in the deck. So I worked towards a game plan where I went, Goldengo hit active Drago for 200 damage, not KOing it. They had Cleffa on the bench. Their board was like Ogerpon, Mew, Cleffa, Drago, and active, and they still had Pheasantipity in the deck and Radiant Charizard, which is scary. But my only win con, I made it so that what I did was I hit the Drago for 200. In the following turn, I went Prime Catcher the Ogerpon, Greninja knockout Drago and Cleffa for 3 prizes, go down to 1. Their response had to be Teal Dance, Radiant Charizard, Fire Energy, Boss, because I had a Radiant Greninja. They had to take 2 prize cards. So they had to go around the Greninja, and I had game in hand. So their game plan had to be Grass Energy, Zard, Boss, Fire Energy for game. They needed a 4-card combo. They had a Mew in play and an Ogerpon, and that's it. Unfortunately, they Mewed, and then they Teal Danced, and then the Teal Dance got them Pheasantipity, which got them the pieces to pull off the Radzard Boss for game. But I made it as close as I could. Nothing I can really do in that situation, but it was a good set no matter what. Then round 12, I hit my friend Jake Santiago, the Slime, and unfortunately, I won the game, but I think game 2 he started Kyurem, but he got the first 2 prizes. I think game 2, because he started Kyurem, I benched Bidoof, because usually I don't put Bidoof in play against Drago until I know they're not going to Phantom Dive me, because sometimes you can predict when they go Lost Impact or Gudra, you can bench Bidoof so it can't get Phantom Dived. Or you know that it won't, because Phantom Dive is a suboptimal play for them that turn, right? So you can bench the Bidoof, but because I benched it because they started Kyurem, he still was able to find Switch Phantom Dive turn 2, in game 3. I still pulled out a win. I had a really insane play in game 2. I had to play my ass off in these last 3 games, by the way, against Drago, because this matchup is actually slightly difficult for the deck. Even though it's favored, but it can be difficult, right? Good Drago players will make it hard for you to play the game. Like, all the Drago matches this weekend, I had to play my ass off. I had to really think of big brain plays. And the big brain play I had was Jake had a Radzard on bench. He Drago'd me with Lost Impact, but he got rid of the energy on the active Drago, because I think he predicted that I was going to kill his Drago, but then he would Radzard for game. Because he was on 2, I was on 4 prizes. But because he had Radzard Drago in play, my game plan was Iono, because he was down, I think he was down 3 energy switch. And he was down a lot of his like supporters. So I went Iono, hit Drago for 200 damage once again. Then the following turn, I went, or the following turn, I whiffed. It's like the next, I needed Palkia V-Star. The next card was the Palkia. So when I played Cypher Maniac, I saw the Palkia was the very next card. I'm like, oh my god, it's the next card. So I just left it. Because my game plan was go Prime Catcher. I think I went Retreat Boss, Prime Catcher Greninja, knock out Radzard, knock out the Drago that I hit for 200, and I forced Jake to have to get, once again, the classic combo of Radzard, Fire Energy, Boss. But he needed a Super Rod on top of that. He came very close to getting there, but he whiffed, and I ended up taking the win. Then round number 13 was against Aaron Friedman, who was playing Reggie Drago. Also, game 1 was very back and forth, and I think I ended up winning. Game 2 was a very interesting set. So it was, once again, I looked at his resources and saw he was down a lot of resources. He had 3 fire in the deck. I didn't realize or know he played 3 fire. It came down to me basically I was boss stalling, Gus stalling his Drago, V-Star, and his Radiant Charizard he had put into play. He was very low on energy, so... But I think he had enough energy technically to attack, but he would build up the Dragon, and I would just go after I would boss the Radzar to trap it. He was down both Switch, Prime Catcher, and Legacy Star at this point, so I kept bossing his stuff up. But I had less cards in the deck than he did, so I noticed I needed Iono, which my other Iono was prized. So my game plan was, I ended up building up Pheasantipity. So how it started off, game number 3, he took the first knockout with Pheasantipity. He went Feather Arrow, turn 2 with Pheasantipity with Energy Switch, knocked out my active Gimmighoul, and I did not kill the Pheasantipity in return. I had to hit it for 200 damage, but because of that damage I put on it, I was able to, I KO'd his Pheasantipity with my Pheasantipity because I needed to get Iono out of the prizes. So I had 4 prizes left. I had to get the Iono, and I got the Iono off the prize cards, and then I Iono'd him, and he effectively decked out because I could just Feather Arrow his Mew on the bench and win the game. So that's how the game was won. It's a very weird game, though. But yeah, sometimes you're playing against Drago and you think you're going to lose. I won 2 games this weekend because I won 3 games this weekend because I looked at my opponent's discard pile, realized that they were low on resources, and played into a plan where I didn't take a knockout to activate Fez, and I just kind of tried to set up 3 prize turn combos with Greninja Palkia, which was really, really cool. And those are like some of the things you need to look out for when playing against Drago this weekend, and that's how I ended up winning round number 13. And again, I bubbled out of top 64. I got 78th place. I had 9-3-1. But still a good run. I'm glad I was able to do well with this Goldengo deck. I was really proud of the list. Like, throughout the weekend, I thought the list was really good. I really like Prime Catcher. Prime Catcher was good. It literally won me the winning in. I Greninja did a Prime Catcher for game in the winning in. Like, that's just how good the card is. Prime Catcher is an amazing card. Energy Surge Pro is nice. I had one game specifically where I wish I had it. It was literally just the mirror match, and that's it. Every other game, Prime Catcher was just by far the best card in the deck to use. So, like, I just really liked it. Bibarel was really good. Bibarel made unbreakable board states. Pheasantipity was nice to have also. The Manaphy was good. I did consider also playing Spiritomb in the deck, but I hit 1 Zard anyways, so it didn't really matter. I guess it would have been good against Lugia, though. But yeah, the deck's good. I really like this list. This list feels very solid. You can go back and forth on the Lost Vacuum, whether or not you want to play it. If you want to maybe instead play, like, a Jamming Tower. I think Vacuum's just overall better in the deck, because it allowed me to do it. Like, you can't mill it with Pokestop, and you can also get it with Pokestop. Like, I just think it's a better card than Jamming Tower, but you can maybe play Tower over Vacuum. I like Vacuum. The Switch was really good. The extra Switch was nice. I guess the other logic behind the Turo Prime Switch combo was, if I did hit a Gardevoir and they played Mawile, it's nice to have that option. Also, decks sometimes try to win by bossing your Bibarel and trapping it for a couple turns. When you have Switch Prime Turo, you don't really care about that. But yeah, overall, like the deck a lot. I think this list is very solid. I think everything literally checks out. I don't think I would change a single card about this 60. And I think literally if I was going to another tournament in this format, I would run back the same 60 for sure. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video on my Goldengo tournament recap here at San Antonio. Again, really fun time this weekend. Really enjoyed San Antonio. And, hopefully we go back next year again for another regionals. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. If you're new to the channel, subscribe down below. We're on the road to 21,000 subs. Once again, big thank you to everybody who came up to me this weekend and said hi and stuff. Got a picture with me, all that stuff. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on another video here very soon on the second channel. I don't think I'll be doing day 2 decks for San Antonio because it's old format anyways. Like, people don't really care about Surging Sparks meta anymore, so I don't think there's going to be a day 2 video for that, unfortunately. But we do have Merida coming up very soon, and then EUIC is coming up very, very soon too. So I'm definitely excited for all that. But hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you all later. Bye-bye.